Welcome back, everybody. Today I'm going to share some really useful information with you that's going to help you understand how the New Mexico hunt draw process works and help you improve your odds for drawing hunts this year. Now, I understand this isn't going to be one of the most exciting videos we've ever put out at Water, but I'm telling you, it's one of the most useful we'll ever put out. It's going to help you understand how the application process works, how the draw works, how tags are distributed, and finally, of course, how to improve your odds in the draw. So first off, let's talk about how the application process actually works. To do that, we're going to head over to the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish website, to the hunting page, and we're going to look at the Big Game Proclamation. Okay, so let's do that now. If you go to the home page for New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, you'll see a bunch of tabs at the top. You're going to go to the hunting page, of course, and this brings you to some really useful links right off the bat. This right here is the 2020-2021 New Mexico Hunting Rules and Info, and that's what we're going to open. Okay, so every year the Department of Game and Fish puts out what we commonly refer to as the Big Game Proclamation, okay? And in this proclamation, you can see the table of contents here. This is the electronic version. They also have hard copies at like Walmart, Cabela's, Sportsman's Warehouse. Most outdoor retail shops are going to carry a few of these hard copies on hand. But it's really convenient, it's right here online. So this is the table of contents, okay? You can see message from the director, department contacts. You keep scrolling down, general rules, Operation Game Thief, etc., etc. The proclamation is extremely important. This is where you're going to find all the rules and regulations. You're going to find specific hunt codes. You're going to find information that's specific to each big game species in the hunt draw. This proclamation is really important. You need to have one of these to apply for any hunts in New Mexico. So from the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, from the hunting tab, you can go to Hunting, Lands, and Maps, right? When you go to Hunting, Lands, and Maps, you're going to see Game Unit Management Unit. When you go to Game Management Unit, you'll see a bunch of numbers on the state of New Mexico, okay? This is New Mexico, and this is how the Department of Game and Fish has divided the state up into what are called game units. And you'll see the units start at 1 and go all the way to number 59, okay? So we have units 1 through 59. Unit 3 is all tribal, that's Jicarilla, Unit 35, etc. You'll see that the state, when you go to this map, they divide it up and they show it based on colors. So green here is National Forest. This brownish, tan, yellow, whatever you want to call it, that's BLM. The pink here, that's White Sands Missile Range, okay? So we can't hunt that unless you draw once in a lifetime oryx. And the white represents private property, private land ownership. Okay, so there's different hunt codes. If you go into one of these units here on the Big Game Unit map, so let's say you wanted to check out Unit 2B, they'll take you to a more zoomed in image of this unit, and you can see all that this unit has to offer the public lands hunter. This is all National Forest, this green here. BLM is this brownish, light brown color. State land is the light blue. This blue here is Navajo Lake, and the white is private property. So you can get a lot of good information just by clicking on the units and checking them out, seeing what's available for you as a public lands hunter. Okay, if we go back to the Big Game Proclamation and we select deer, this is going to give us all the information we need from the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish on the deer licenses. Okay, you'll see general information, deer draw licenses, okay, forced choice hunts, we're going to talk about that later, private land hunts. Finally, you'll see the deer draw licenses, and these are the actual hunts that you can apply for when you're applying for deer in the big game draw. So if you look at this, let's go to Unit 2B. Since we pulled that up, we'll keep that same unit in mind here. You'll see that in Unit 2B, there are September 1st to the 21st, there's a bow hunt. And the hunt code is DER-2-116. The S means it's a standard hunt. The 130 is how many tags are available. And FAD is a forked antlered deer, and that is the bag limit. So you can see at the top there, you'll see all the definitions for the columns underneath it. So there's the unit, there's the hunt dates, the hunt code, the fee type, licenses, and bag limit, okay? So scene 2B, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bow hunts. 2 of them are youth only, which means only youth can apply to those hunts. And youth is defined by 17 and under, right? There's 2 muzzleloader hunts. 1 is a youth only. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 rifle hunts. Any legal means that any legal weapon is okay to use on that hunt. So any legal means pretty much means high-powered rifle. That's what people are going to be using on that hunt. And again, you'll see all the dates. You'll see the codes, the fee type, S, Q. The Q stands for quality, okay? And the Department of Game and Fish, you also see Q/HD. That means quality, high demand. And they have very specific definitions of how they assign a fee type for that specific hunt. So a quality hunt is basically a hunt that in general is producing a really high harvest. Okay, a lot of hunters are tagging out on that hunt. High demand means a lot of people want that tag compared to how many tags are available. So this is the big game proc. This is for deer in particular, and you'll see that this just continues for all 59 units I was telling you about. You see I'm scrolling down, 23, 25. I mean, it just keeps going and going, okay? They lay out all the tags available for all the units available for deer. And you finally get to the end, Unit 59. You can see all the different hunts for Unit 59, bow, muzzleloader, any legal, right? You see the dates, hunt codes, fee type, how many tags are available, and the bag limit for those hunts. For every big game species, each hunter must select 3 different hunt codes for that species that you're applying for. So if you're applying for deer, you're gonna have to find 3 different hunt codes in the big game proclamation that we were just looking at to apply for. So let's say Unit 2B is your first choice. Okay, so you would pick a hunt code in Unit 2B, whether you want to hunt bow, muzzleloader, or rifle, pick the specific hunt code you want, there's your first choice. Then you're gonna move on to another unit, or it could be the same unit, but it has to be a different hunt code. So 3 distinct hunt codes, those are gonna represent your 3 choices in the application process. And this is what it would look like on the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish's website when you're applying for deer. You'll select your hunt codes, and you'll see I have 3 choices. The Department of Game and Fish also allows you to select a 4th choice, which we're gonna talk about a little bit more later. You're gonna repeat this process for as many big game species that you wanna apply for. So once you apply for deer, you could potentially still apply for elk, Barbary sheep, bighorn sheep, antelope, ibex, oryx, and javelina. Just a quick reminder, if you're a youth, if you're under 18 years of age, the state requires that you take a hunter's education course before you can apply for a hunt. And really, I recommend everybody take a hunter's ed course. Okay, let's talk about how the draw works. I'm gonna give you an illustration, and I really hope I don't confuse you more by doing this, but I wanna try to explain how New Mexico Department of Game and Fish, according to their website, completes the draw process, okay? So what I've done is I've written 10 names on different little pieces of paper here, right? And this is gonna represent the amount of people applying for 4 tags in Unit 2B, okay? For example, we keep saying 2B. I'm just gonna keep running with that example. All right, so the way the draw works is everybody who applies for a deer tag, we're talking about deer right now, their names are thrown into a hat, if you will, right? The random draw. And what the system does, the computer, is it shuffles all those names, right? And it starts, once it's complete, it starts drawing names. And it says, okay, first name I picked was Cruz. That's my son. So Cruz gets a sequence number of 1. He's the first hunter that's going to get assigned tags. And it keeps doing that. Here's my sister, Maya. She's 2. 3 is Gabe, my brother. Okay? He drew 3rd. Anne drew 4th. That's my wife. Okay? So it basically keeps doing this for everybody in this who applied for a deer tag. Mike, my brother, is 5. And you guys get the point, right? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So John, my other brother, Gabe, oh, that's me, sorry, Gregg, and Allie, my daughter. Okay, so we're 6, 7, and 8, or 9, right? Really, in this example, it doesn't matter. Oh, one more, my mom, Samantha. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here, 6, 7, 8, 9 hunters total applied for for deer, period, right? When you apply for deer, then your name gets put into a hat. They draw you in a sequence. You're assigned a sequence number. Now, what they do is they say, okay, Cruz, my son Cruz, he drew sequence number 1. So he is the first hunter that's going to get assigned a hunt that on his application process. So then what they do is they look at the 3 hunts he applied for, okay? First choice, second choice, third choice. Let's say his first choice was 2B. Well, guess what? He gets to hunt this year in Unit 2B. That was his first choice hunt, and he drew it. So he is now out of the draw pool, right? Because he has drawn a tag. There now remain 3 tags left for Unit 2B. Well, they pick up who's second in the sequence. It's Maya, my little sister. Okay. Remember, you have 3 choices total in the draw. Let's say Maya's first choice wasn't 2B. Let's say it was 5B, okay, Unit 5B for deer. But all those tags were already gone. Excuse me. Well, what they do is then they look at Maya's second choice. Let's say her second choice was 2B. Well, guess what? Maya gets a tag for 2B, and now half of the tags are now gone, okay? And the system keeps doing this. It says 3, my brother Gabe. Gabe put in first choice Vidal, bow hunt for deer. That was his first choice. Well, all those tags are gone through the same process, right? And then he put his second choice as 5B. Well, those tags are already gone, we know, because Maya didn't draw that either. His third choice was 2B. Guess what? He gets the tag for 2B. And now 3 tags are distributed. Anne drew 4th in the sequence. So, and she picked 2B as her first choice. So guess what? Put these closer so you can see them. All of the 2B tags are now distributed to those hunters. Now we have all these other hunters. We have my brother Mike, John, my mom Samantha, me, and my daughter Allie, right? There's 5 hunters who also applied for those tags, but guess what? They're gone. So we no longer have access to draw those tags. So now let's say Mike's first choice was 2B, but those tags are gone. Well, what the system does now is it moves on to his second choice, and it sees, are these tags all filled? And if all those tags are filled, it moves to his third choice. And let's say his third choice is also filled. Well, then Mike did not draw a deer hunt this year. And that's how it keeps going. So Mike was 5. 6 was Allie, my daughter, right? So her first choice was 2B. They're gone though, so she can't draw it. Her second choice was 5B. Those tags were long gone even before 2B's tags were gone. Her third choice was Unit 30 down south. And guess what? There were 200 tags left when her sequence number was pulled. So she's going to get a tag for Unit 30. So she gets to go hunting this year. And it'll keep doing that for the rest of the hunters that applied for a deer tag in the state of New Mexico. So basically, based on your sequence number that you're assigned, the system's going to go through your entire application process before moving on to the next hunter. So there is a chance that you draw your third choice hunt before the next hunter draws their first choice hunt. Now we're going to talk about how the tags are distributed. According to the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish website, 84% of all tags that are in the draw are allotted to New Mexico residents. 10% go to a resident and or non-resident who applied with an outfitter. So those 10% of the tags are allotted specifically for those people who selected to go with an outfitter. And the last 6% of the tags are allotted to those hunters who are non-resident, out-of-state hunters that did not hire an outfitter before submitting an application. Finally, let's get to the good stuff. How can you improve your draw hunt odds in New Mexico? I'm going to refer to my notes here because I don't want to forget to tell you something, okay? So the first thing is you want to do your homework. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's go back to the New Mexico Department of Game and Fish website. We're going to go to big game and draw hunts, and we're going to go down to draw info, odds, and success tips, okay? So they'll explain to you how the draw works, but we want to go to odds and reports. And what you're going to see is that there's a 2018 draw odds complete report and there's a 2019 draw odds complete report. Now, we're going to actually go to the summary. So let's go to the 2019 draw odds summary, okay? This is going to be part of your homework that you're going to do when you're applying for a hunt. You have to look at this stuff because you want to know how many hunters are applying for the specific hunts that you're looking at applying for. This is going to give you an idea of how many hunters you're up against, the odds that are stacked against you in drawing a tag. So we've been talking, for example, we've been talking about Unit 2B, okay? Let's look at DER-1-109, Unit 2B. We see that there were 275 licenses available for that hunt. When it says hunt total, you'll see first, second, and third. These are the amount of hunters that applied for this hunt on their first choice. So you see 1,047 hunters had Unit 2B, the code DER-1-109, as their first choice hunt. 790 hunters had it as their second choice hunt, and 1,131 hunters had it as their third choice hunt. So you can see that there are quite a few people applying for this tag. You have 275 tags available, and you have a total of, if you add up the first, second, and third choice, you're looking at somewhere maybe in like almost 3,000 hunters applying for that tag. Now the Department of Game and Fish also puts out what's called a harvest report. Okay, I want to show that to you real quick. So let's look at the harvest report. Remember, this is harvest reporting information. You'll find it under the hunting section on the Department of Game and Fish website. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to, we're talking about deer, let's go to the 2017-2018 harvest report. And here what you'll see is, we're talking about Unit 2B, right? 2B. What they're going to show you is the amount of licenses that were sold, how many hunters were reporting whether or not they hunted and harvested, and it'll tell you percent reporting, and it'll tell you the success rate. So if you look at DER-1-109, we just looked at that in the draw odds report, right? You'll see that 92% of the people, of the hunters that hunted there, reported whether or not they harvested. The success rate was 46%. The estimated harvest was 117 bucks, and the hunters rated the hunting an average of 3.5 out of 5, right? Out of 5, say out of 5 stars. And the average hunter hunted 3.5 days. Okay, now I told you, do your homework, all right? Now that you've seen a draw odd report and you've seen a harvest report, let me show you how I bring these things together to determine what hunts I'm gonna apply for this coming year. This is just an example. These aren't the hunts I'm actually applying for. What I did was I took several units, several hunt codes, should I say, out of the proclamation for elk, and let me show you how I did it. So first, my first column is the unit. This is the unit that I'm looking at. Here's the specific hunt code. By the way, I forgot to mention, if you see a 2 in the hunt code, that refers to an archery tag. -2-100, that's archery. If you see -3-102, that's a muzzleloader hunt. And if you see the -1, that's an illegal weapon, that's a high-powered rifle hunt, okay? Just FYI. But you see I have the bag limit, right? So this first one here is either sex, and you go down 2 more in Unit 2 and you have a mature bull hunt, right? I put the amount of tags that they're giving in 2020, and then I use the harvest report information to put down what the success rate was in that unit for that specific hunt. So you see in 2017, the harvest rate was 19%, 90% of hunters tagged out on an elk that year on that specific hunt. In 2018, 20%. So about the same between 2 years, right? Had tagged out and were successfully harvested an elk in that unit. Next, you're going to see 6 columns, okay? The first 3 are how many hunters applied for that hunt in 2018 for their first choice. You see a -1, second choice -2, and third choice -3. So for that first hunt code, ELK-2-100, 148 hunters put that as their first choice in 2018 for their elk application. 130 hunters put that as their second choice in 2018, and as a third choice, there were 203 hunters. If you add all those up, let's let Excel do it, 481 hunters applied for ELK-2-100 in 2018 on their application. Okay, now let's look at 2019. 128 hunters used that hunt code as their first choice. 174 as their second, and 171 as their third. So if we sum those up, you get 473 hunters. So look, from year to year, pretty consistent when we're talking about this hunt here, ELK-2-100. So what is this telling you? There's 120 tags available and 481 people are applying for those tags. So on average, you have maybe a 25% shot of drawing that hunt, right? And what I do is I go through the proc and I go through the harvest reports and I go through the draw odds reports for all the hunts that I'm interested in, and I make this I create this spreadsheet. Let's look at one that's really popular, okay? So let's go from Unit 2, let's go to Unit 6B. 6B is the Valles Caldera, okay? ELK-3-192 is a muzzleloader hunt. It's either sex. You can shoot a bull or a cow. There's 25 tags available for that hunt. Look at the harvest rates. The harvest rates for the Valles Caldera. 87% of hunters tagged out on their 2017 hunt, and 86% of hunters tagged out on the 2018 hunt. But look at how many people are applying for this hunt in 2018, and look how many people applied in 2019. You don't even have to crunch the numbers. You're like, oh my gosh. 1,073 hunters had the Valles Caldera as their first choice hunt in 2019, and there's only 25 tags available. That is a much bigger difference, right? And a much lower success odds of drawing that hunt than Unit 2, for example, okay? So this is a strategy I use to see, one, just to get an idea, what are my odds of drawing this hunt? And two, what are the harvest rates for that hunt? I want to know too, how well are people doing when they go to hunt this unit? If you see a harvest rate over 40%, that's pretty amazing, right? If you see something over 50, you start seeing 70, 80%, that's quality, high demand. That's an epic hunt to draw right there, right? That's what you probably want to look at as your first choice. And this is what I mean by doing your homework. The majority of hunters in the state applying for hunts in New Mexico will never do something like this. They won't even look at the draw odds report. They're just going to say, oh, I want to hunt Valles Caldera, I want to hunt Valle Vidal, and I want to hunt the Gila. I want to hunt the Gila. And they'll pick three hunt codes based on, the best time for them. Don't even look at, if it's the rut or if it's muzzleloader time, if it's cold. I mean, none of that, it doesn't matter. They're just picking the three best hunts they could ever pick, and they're crossing their fingers and hoping to draw it. Now the hunt, at the end of the day, the draw lottery, it's luck, right? I mean, it's sheer luck. That's what it is. So you should put in for a good unit as your first choice. But if you do your homework, you'll know that putting in for three incredibly hard to draw units as your three choices, if you don't draw the first one, you're definitely not drawing the second and third one. It's just not going to happen. Those tags fill up really quickly. And if you do your homework, you see that. The draw odds report will show you how many hunters drew the hunt as their first choice, second choice, and third choice. And you'll see that for the majority of hunts, except for cow hunts, that trend decreases. So you'll have 80% of the hunters that put it as their first choice, that top hunt, they drew it as their first choice. And then you have 20% or 15% drew it as their second choice, and 5% drew it as their third. If you look at the draw odds report, don't take my word for it. Go look at it, and you'll see those trends in almost every single hunt. Your first choice hunt is your best bet to draw the hunt that you really want to draw. Your second and third choice should be hunts that are a little easier to draw. Your third choice should be a super easy to draw hunt if you really want to hunt. And that really is my second point for you, is to be logical. That first choice hunt, absolutely. Put in for your dream hunt. Put in for the hunt that's going to be the hardest to draw. You can't draw it if you don't put it in for it, right? Someone's like, oh, I'll never draw for bighorn sheep, so I'm not putting in for it. Well, if the guys and gals who actually drew the bighorn sheep tags thought that way, they wouldn't have drawn the tag either. So you can't draw for that hunt code, that real special unit, if you don't put in for it. So yeah, I recommend your first choice, shoot for the stars, aim for the stars, whatever that saying is. Go big. Pick a unit that is really hard to draw, that has a high success rate, that is a high demand, it's a quality hunt, and you have a real good chance of harvesting a trophy on that hunt. Your second and third choice, though, bring it down. Bring it back, be logical. Your second choice hunt, maybe it is somewhat of a difficult hunt to draw, and the harvest rates aren't as high, but you're coming down. And by the time you get to your third choice, if you really want to hunt, then it should be a hunt that there are not a lot of people putting in for, and the harvest rates are probably not as high. So basically the demand for that unit, that hunt, isn't going to be as high, and you have a really good shot of drawing that unit. Now, just because a unit has low success rates doesn't mean deer are not there, right? Really what I have learned is that there are deer in every unit in this state. There really are. Now, some have more than others. Some have bigger deer than others. But if you're willing to do your homework, my bet is you'll be able to find deer in every single unit in New Mexico. Next is be willing to travel. Most hunters are going to want to hunt really close to where they're from. So if you got all these Albuquerque hunters, they're going to put in for hunts within 3 hours of home. I guarantee you, 1 to 3 hours of home. Most of them don't want to drive very far. So you'll see a lot of Albuquerque hunters, they're not putting in for Unit 27. They're not putting in for Unit 30 because it's far. It's 5 hours to camp, 6 hours to camp. But if you're willing to put in a little more legwork, a little more mileage, you may be able to get a little bit better chances at drawing the hunt that you want to draw. Next thing is consider a non-rifle hunt. Look at the draw odds reports. Again, don't take my word for it. Go in there and look at the numbers, guys. You'll see that the high-powered rifle hunts are the high demand. They're the more demanded hunts. People want to hunt with the rifle. Why? Because you got a longer range. You don't have to get as close. It's easier. That's the question. That's the answer to the question. And a bow, well, that's the hardest of all, right? Archery is the most difficult hunt that you're going to find. So guess what? You're going to have less hunters applying for the archery hunts than you do for the rifle hunts on average. So if you're willing to switch it up and hunt a different weapon, you may be able to draw more tags than your neighbor who doesn't want to hunt muzzleloader, doesn't want to hunt bow. They're putting in only for the rifle hunts in the best areas. The next suggestion I have for you is to apply for cow hunts. Go do your homework in the draw odds reports. Don't take my word for it, and you'll see there are a lot less people applying for cow tags than there are for mature bull tags, especially as their first and second choice. You apply for a cow tag on your first choice, I'd be shocked if you didn't draw it your first or second year in the application process as you're applying for hunts. They're just more readily available. People don't want to hunt cows first. They want a bull first, and then the third choice always comes as a cow hunt. And really, most people don't even do that. They want bull hunts, period. So it's bull, 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 mature bull, mature bull, mature bull, rifle, all three hunts. Unless you're hunting bow, then you can shoot either sex. And that's one of the really cool things about bow hunting, right? But let's say you don't want a bow hunt, you don't want a muzzleloader hunt, then at the very least, put a cow hunt as your third choice on your hunting application. This is going to drastically improve your odds in actually drawing a tag and being able to hunt. Yeah, you didn't draw your mature bull tag, but it'll come. It will come. Okay, and you didn't draw your second choice, but you drew a third choice. You get to get out and you get to hunt. You get to be with family and friends, and cows are really tasty meat, and that meat, elk are big, right? So a cow, you get you a cow, you have meat for the entire year. Really good organic meat. You got out to hunt, you have a memory, and you have a harvest under your belt. Okay, so be willing to apply for cow hunts and go on cow hunts. That's going to increase your odds of hunting elk. Finally, this fourth choice option. Now for deer and elk, looking at my notes here, you have the option of submitting a fourth choice. Now by opting for the fourth choice hunt, okay, you absolutely have to put in for 3, but you have an option for deer and elk to say, yes, I'll take the fourth choice. And by agreeing to that, you're agreeing to accept any hunt in that quadrant of the state. So it could be, and it really usually is, that the hunt they're going to give you was kind of like a leftover, right? It was something that wasn't in high demand. There aren't going to be a lot of animals on average in that unit for the species you're after. But you selected a fourth choice, they gave you a tag, and guess what? You get to go hunting. And you never know. Look at those fourth choices. People tag out on those fourth choice hunts. You know, and a lot of people won't put in for it because they don't want to just be assigned a random area. But the point is, you got to go hunting. What is your point here in applying for hunts? If your purpose is to go hunting, then this is how you improve your draw odds. If your purpose is to hunt a mature bull with a rifle, well, that's going to be a harder tag to draw. Not saying you won't draw it your first year in. Some people do. I know some people who've drawn mature bull tags 3-4 years in a row. But I know most hunters who apply for that mature bull rifle tag and haven't drawn in 10 years. So what do you want to do? Do you want to hunt, or do you want to, if you do draw, make sure that it's a mature bull tag? Really the answer is on you, right? That's how you decide what you're applying for. But if you do want to hunt, then a fourth choice option may not be a bad idea for you. That was a little bit of a longer video. I know it wasn't the most exciting content we put out, but I really hope that helped you. Knowing how the application process works, knowing how the draw works, how tags are distributed, and how to improve your odds, this is gonna put you way ahead of the game of 75% of the hunters out there who don't know any of this and won't do their homework. So make sure you get your application in before the March deadline, and please like and subscribe to our channel and share this video if you found it helpful. Be sure to catch some of our other videos while you're here on YouTube, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.